Hello, thank you for coming to the Platform.sh demo. I'm Jessica Orozco, the VP of Sales for Platform.sh, and with you today I have Yuriy. Yuriy is a solution architect, so he'll be walking you through the technical demo while I walk you through a quick overview of what Platform.sh is and what we do here before we actually go through the demo itself. So at a very high level, Platform.sh was created so that the developer can focus on what matters the most, which is your code and your application. And that way you can forget about ever having to worry about any sort of configuration infrastructure. And that's what everybody is really looking to focus on, is how they can be more innovative and provide their customers with the experiences that they want and need as quickly as possible. So with our approach, we have a remote work environment here at Platform.sh. We're completely distributed. We're a global company, so that means that at any point in the day, there's always somebody that's going to be alive and awake there to help you from a support perspective. And also, we have a variety of different experiences across all of the 180 employees that we have. So there's a lot of really knowledgeable engineers and developers that work for Platform.sh that can help you with your specific requirements. We have over 5,000 customers today. 280 of those are enterprise customers. And we also have a really healthy digital agency partnership program. So in case you want more information on that, you can go on our website to research that a little bit more. So essentially, Platform.sh is more than just a hosting provider. So in traditional sense, managed services companies, or IaaS, cloud providers, they only provide the essential compute, RAM, and storage resources and some networking to get you going on building an application or managing an application. Platform.sh goes beyond that. We're a platform as a service provider, meaning that on top of the cloud infrastructure, we're also going to be providing you with all of the container orchestration, the CI/CD layer, the APIs and integrations, the database, pretty much everything except for your actual application code and your data. Everything else is up to us to manage for you. And that's really unique in the marketplace, is that we're polyglot, meaning that we are going to be able to support pretty much any application that you have to bring us. So whether it's a Drupal, WordPress, Python, Rails, and pretty much anything that you have, we can run on Platform.sh with some exceptions, of course. Today, we have about 60 or so templates that are ready to go so that you can easily launch your application, or you can just create it from scratch if you'd like as well. And a way that we're also different is that we kind of took the premises of what Git was founded on in the methodology of branch. So the way that we work is it takes you out of the very stringent development, staging, production pipeline, and it actually opens up the workflow so that way it can work the way that you work. So you can create different branches for different features within the same application. So that way it's basically a mirror of what's going on in Git. So every time you do anything in Git, it pretty much does the actual deployments of that on Platform.sh. And what we really, when you look into the details of what Platform.sh does and what we replace, we integrate with Git, so we're Git driven, but we actually replace the need for you to ever have to worry about infrastructure, meaning that from the build process, you don't need to go and purchase or acquire your own CI tool. So we would replace Travis CI, Circle CI, or Jenkins. You also don't need a packaging component like a Chef, Puppet, or Ansible. That's something that we provide for you. And you don't need to worry about provisioning. Provisioning happens automatically through our toolset. So you don't have to go and configure and purchase OpenShift or Pivotal Cloud Foundry. You also don't need to worry about how to deploy and scale containers like Docker containers, or even orchestrate them through Kubernetes. We'll take that away from you, so that way you can focus on your code. And we run it on all the major cloud providers in the world. So it gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of what your needs are and what your application does. So that way it fits the right cloud provider that can fit your needs the best. And we also manage all of your websites and make sure that they're running efficiently, as well as securing them and making sure that they're within compliance. So we have SOC 2 Type 2 compliances, as well as PCI, DSS, GDPR, and the rest. So the platform is always going to be updated, patched, managed for you, so that you don't have to worry about that anymore. And with our product, everything comes in batteries included. So there really isn't anything outside of our platform that you need to run your application. So in terms of the database, for example, you can just choose your database with a couple of lines of code with the version that you want, and it automatically gets deployed, and we manage that database for you. Same thing with any other service. So let's say, for example, you need Solar or Elasticsearch for your search, or any caching component. All of those things are offered at Platform.sh and managed by Platform.sh. And we also have a very unique feature that is called the instant cloning feature. So what this means is that we can take an exact replica, byte for byte, of your production environment and put it in an isolated test dev environment. So that way, whenever you go to create a new feature, or you're doing a hot fix or something like that, you know that when you go and test in that environment, it's going to work exactly the same way as in production when you're ready to push it to production, because it's exactly the same thing with the same dependencies and everything, even including the data that you have running in production. So you can be sure that with Platform.sh, whenever you push your testing environment to production, it's going to work every time. And you can also choose to deploy it globally. So whether you need your service to run for US customers today and European customers tomorrow, you don't have to worry about being restricted to just one region of the world. We're a global provider, so you can provide it anywhere you need and launch it anywhere you need in the world. And we also offer industry-leading SLAs. So we can offer up to 4 lines of uptime. And also we are a provider that helps with supporting you 24/7. So at any point in time of the day, we are there for you. Whenever you put in a ticket, somebody's going to make sure that you are given the support that you require. And our customers also love us. So this is a testimonial on G2 Crowd. So if you guys want to go and check out our reviews, please do so. This one in particular, I think really talks to that cloning feature. Our tool set is very developer centric. So it gives the developer the tools they need to enable them to do things more efficiently and work faster, because they don't have to worry about manual configurations of code anymore. Everything from an infrastructure perspective is taken care of. A couple of lines of code to make any changes that they need makes their job a lot easier and lets them get their job done a lot quicker. And these are some of the results that we see our customers have with using Platform.sh. For one, they reduced their DevOps dependency by 90%. They have 15 times faster user acceptance testing. They have a 40% uplift in that productivity, because again, a big portion of a developer's life is figuring out infrastructure, so they don't have to do that anymore. And that also results in more deployments. So we usually see a factor of 20 times or more deployments than usual when moving to Platform.sh. And you can interact with Platform.sh in 3 different ways. So we have a UI called the console, and Yuriy will walk you through that. You can also use Platform.sh in the background while you're using Git. And then also, obviously, we have API or the CLI that you can interact with as well. In our demo today, Yuriy will go through an overview of console, so that way you can get a familiarity with what that looks like and what you can do through the UI. And then he's also going to show you a decoupled Drupal and Node.js application that he's built. He's going to run you through making an update to that decoupled application. He's going to test that change and then deploy it to production. So with that, Yuriy, I will leave that up to you.
Thank you, Jess. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to run through this demo. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the console that Jess just mentioned. You will gain access to this as soon as your project is created. And in the console, let's have a look at what we have. So on the left-hand side, in the very top corner, we have the name of our application and a drop-down which allows us to select an environment to look at. At present time, this is a brand new application. We only have the master environment. Immediately below, we have an overview tab and a settings tab. Below that, we see a screenshot of our current application, some high-level information about the infrastructure, and a map of the services that our application currently has. So we can see that everything starts with a router, which then passes on requests to one of two applications. One is a Node.js based front end, and the other is a PHP-based API application that's currently running Drupal. And with Drupal, we have a database layer, specifically MySQL. So as you add or remove services, you will see your changes reflected on this services map. At the very bottom of the page, we have an activity log that contains Git pushes and changes, as well as environment-specific changes that you make in the console. For example, activating or deactivating individual environments or adding environment variables. On the right-hand side of the page, we will see a list of all of the branches, and they will be designated as an environment or simply as an inactive branch. We have various searching and filtering options at the top. For example, under the filter icon, we can filter to show only active or only inactive environments. In the top right-hand corner, we have some project-specific information relating to Git and the CLI. These are essentially little helpers to help you connect to these services a little bit faster. So as Jess mentioned, we're going to make a few changes to that application and see how those changes are reflected. First of all, we're going to go into the main master environment, and you will notice that on the left-hand side, you get an automatically generated domain name for this specific environment. This domain name is based on the branch that we're looking at and the internal application ID, which is this string right here. If we open this up in a new tab, we will see our application. Now, this application is purely a React JS frontend that performs an API call to a Node.js backend, and that Node.js backend pulls in data from our Drupal-based API and then sends it back to React. At present time, all that it does is it displays a series of nodes that we have created in Drupal, nodes being pieces of content. So it displays the piece of the ID, the type of node that it is, and its title. Very straightforward. We can also have a look at our Drupal-based API at the API.etc. domain. And this is just a basic Drupal 8 instance. So let's go into our project and create a new branch, new environment, and make some changes to it. So first of all, we can check that we are on the master environment. We have a clean slate, no changes. Let's create a new branch. We will call it updates. We will check out that branch. And we can now make some changes. So I'm going to go into my text editor. The first change we're going to make is a front-end visual change. We're going to remove the ID column because for whatever reason, it's no longer necessary. That change has been made. Let's say we also want to update the PHP version for our Drupal application. Now, the version of your runtime, as well as a series of other configurations, are configured through the platform.app.yaml file that is going to be present in each application that you have. So in this case, the file for Drupal is somewhat complex. At a bare bones, this is what the file looks like for a small, simple application. So you will note that we have a name for this specific application. We specify the runtime and the version that we're running. We can optionally specify the disk size, optionally specify file structure mounts, optionally specify hooks. We have hooks for the build process, for pre-build process, and I believe for a post-deploy process. These are all documented in our online documentation. And most importantly, we have a web property that allows us to configure the entry point for this application and run any commands that we need to get our application running. In most cases, this will simply be mapping the application to an index whatever file for the entry point. In our case, this is a node application, so we need to start the node server, and that's what we do in our command. So going back to the same file for our Drupal-powered API, we're going to make an update to the PHP runtime. So we're going to update it from PHP 7.2 to PHP 7.3, and we're going to save this file. So the two changes that we have made, one is the PHP runtime, and the second being the front-end display of content. We're going to verify that these changes have been made, and there they are. Those are the two files that we have modified, and we're going to commit these changes. As we, oh, apologies, we need to actually specify where we're pushing these changes. As we've pushed these changes to the remote repository, you will notice a message saying no package to build, environment is inactive. This is shown because this is a brand new branch that we have not yet designated as an actual environment. So we're going to go into the console, go up to the project root, and we're going to see our new updates branch. As we click into that, we can go into settings, and we can see that the status is currently set to inactive. Let's go ahead and activate this. So the status has changed to building. This is a process that takes approximately 1 minute, regardless of your actual application size. You might have a tiny application like in our case, or you might have an application with tens of gigabytes of data. It largely doesn't matter. This process will happen within approximately 60 seconds. And this is going to be a one-to-one, byte-to-byte copy of whatever environment you're essentially originating with, in our case, master or production. So any data that you have in production will be carried over, even if it's session data for individual users. So if you're looking to debug an issue or to perform a test of a new feature on the latest stable code and be 100% sure that this change that you're making will work once it's deployed to production, this is a fantastic feature to have because you're getting an identical clone that you can change whatever you want and see the results of that change virtually instantly. On the left-hand side, you'll see some environment-specific configurations. We're in the General tab right now, but we can access the Access tab to control who has access to this environment, and we can go into the Variables tab to configure environment-specific variables. Now, you'll note that this dummy environment variable key variable appeared from somewhere. This was actually configured for our master environment, and this variable was set as being inheritable, which means that any new environment that we create from master will automatically get this variable and its configuration. So again, this ties into the ability to easily debug production changes or production bugs in a non-production setting. We similarly have a routes page that provides some information for configuration of your routing. Now, let's have a look at our status again, and we can see that this is still building. And that's okay. We're gonna give this a few minutes, and once this process is complete, we're gonna have a look and verify that our changes have been made. Oh, our environment is set to active, which means our changes have been deployed. So let's have a look at it. We see that a new domain name has been generated for this environment. We can open this in a new tab. And we can see that the ID column has disappeared. That was the visual change that we had made. Now we can SSH into the server and verify that PHP has actually been updated. Now, when I click this SSH icon, you'll note that we see 2 lines of code, or 2 connection strings. This is because we have 2 applications which are running on separate servers, separate containers technically. So we can connect to our API backend or to our front end. In this case, we're upgrading the PHP version for our Drupal application, so that is this connection string right here. Going back into our terminal, we can paste this and connect to our SSH server. Checking PHP, we see that we are now running PHP 7.3. Now we can similarly connect back to our original environment, which was master, and we can verify that that environment is still running PHP 7.2 and has not been affected by these changes. And there we go. So we have 2 separate, we have 2 separate containers running 2 separate environments, and everything happened in a total span of approximately 60 seconds. And that just about wraps up the demo. So we're gonna pass this over back to Jess.
All right, thank you so much. So I hope you guys enjoyed the demo. If you want some more information, please reach out to your sales representative and book a longer demo so you can ask some questions and get more specific around your needs. Thank you.
Thank you.